all of this misinformation because of how much damage it was doing to the recovery efforts.
There's a lot of misinformation just to confuse on the ground what's happening here. There's no confiscation of supplies or of products coming in by FEMA.
And now, even before the state of Florida is hit by this historic storm, Ron DeSantis is playing games prepared, or that he doesn't have time to play games with FEMA. He's going to feed into this rhetoric and position this as a political issue. But anytime there is a disaster in this country, it is imperative that there is federal, state, and local coordination. And in modern history, there has always been exactly that, to greater or lesser extent. But we've never seen a governor outright refuse to accept the phone calls of the president when the president and the vice president are trying to get resources to the region. MAGA has gone too far. Enough's enough. And it's really a shame that so many members of MAGA have to find out the hard way. When it's their time for disaster, they realize that they have bought into a system that is more committed to a political agenda than the truth, than their own safety, and they will find themselves on the receiving end of all of the ramifications, all of the outcomes that manifest as a result of the games that MAGA wishes to play. This is really a test for the United States of America. This is a test for democracy itself. Can we withstand a political entity that has no compunction, no reservation, no hesitation whatsoever about spreading detrimental lies, putting people's lives in danger, and outright playing politics with the well-being of their own voters? Hurricane Milton approaches the Gulf of Florida. Ron DeSantis needs to be organized enough and be able to multitask enough to handle his local and state responsibilities while also coordinating with the federal government to ensure that his state can get all the resources that it needs. But if it's too difficult for Ron DeSantis to do two things at one time, and that is to be the governor of Florida as he manages the emergency response in the state of Florida, as well as to be the liaison with the federal government. If that's too complicated for you, Ron DeSantis, then I'm sure that there's somebody else in this state who is more than capable of walking and chewing gum at the same time.
You know, moments of crisis, if nothing else, should really be the moment that anyone who calls themselves a leader says they're going to put politics aside and put people first. People are in desperate need of support right now, and playing political games at this moment in these crisis situations, these are the height of emergency situations. It's just utterly irresponsible, and it is selfish, and it is about political gamesmanship instead of doing the job that you took an oath to do, which is to put the people first.
From the campaign trail, but at this hour we do want to begin with that breaking news as millions in Florida brace for Hurricane Milton that officials are warning could be the most dangerous storm to hit that region in more than a century. And making matters worse right now, the storm is barreling towards the same area that was hit by Hurricane Helene just a couple of weeks ago. Right now, let's show you Milton. It is a Category 4 storm. Wind speeds nearing Category 5 level. Expected to remain extremely dangerous when it makes landfall along Florida's Gulf Coast, possibly around the Tampa area. The expectation is this will happen tomorrow night. The storm surge alone could be historic, and Milton is expected to remain at hurricane strength as it crosses the entire state. That means it arrives as a hurricane and leaves Florida as a hurricane. And as we speak, millions of Floridians who are under mandatory evacuation orders are fleeing their homes. Others are filling sandbags, you may have seen on TV today, boarding up their windows ahead of what could be catastrophic flooding. This is a time lapse of Milton from the International Space Station today. You can see how wide it is, and it keeps growing in size. 51 of Florida's 67 counties are under a state of emergency. Hurricane and tropical storm warnings extend throughout the peninsula and the Keys, forcing President Biden to postpone a planned trip overseas. He was briefed earlier today on the latest on this storm, and he delivered this message from the White House.
This could be the worst storm hit Florida in over a century. And God willing, it won't be, but that's That's what it's looking like right now. I've urged everyone currently located in Hurricane Milton's path to listen to local officials and follow the safety instructions. Everybody's heading out now. You should have already evacuated. It's a matter of life and death.
Officials keep pushing back on misleading claims about FEMA's resources and its recovery efforts that are being spread in part by former President Trump and some of his allies. I asked President Biden about that issue, and here's part of our exchange.
Sir, what's the risk of political figures sharing misinformation during this time?
The fact of the matter is, picking up for what they've asked for, they're pointing out that they're satisfied with everything they're getting. Look, those who do it to try to damage the administration. Well, we can take care of ourselves. But it misleads people. It puts people in circumstances where